Today on Anime Galaxy, we're going through the story, Black Torch. If you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more recaps. Jurro was the kind of kid who never really fit in anywhere. At school, most of his classmates treated him like some strange weirdo, and because of that, he had no real friends to talk to. One day, he was sitting there complaining about how everyone saw him, while someone beside him tried to cheer him up and told him that being different was not always a bad thing. The funny part is that the one giving him that advice was actually his dog, which honestly makes it a little easier to understand why everyone thought Jurro was strange. The truth is, Jurro had been born with a rare ability that allowed him to hear the voices of animals. To him, speaking with them felt completely normal, but to everyone else, watching him casually talk to cats, dogs, and birds was more than enough to make them keep their distance. So as Jurro grew older, the only companions he truly had were the animals around his neighborhood, and because they were the only ones who accepted him, he was willing to go pretty far to protect them, even if that meant picking fights with delinquents who tried to hurt them. After Jurro chased those delinquents away, the cat and crow he protected thanked him for stepping in, explaining that those guys have been bothering them a lot recently. Jurro acted like it was nothing and started heading home, but the moment he returned, his grandfather immediately started yelling at him after realizing he had gotten into another fight. He reminded Jurro that he did not teach him shinobi techniques just so he could run around the neighborhood beating people up. Then he accused Jurro of embarrassing their family name, but Jurro coldly said he did not care about that stupid name at all. That comment pushed his grandfather over the edge, and in a fit of rage, the old man grabbed the family's treasured katana and started chasing Jurro around the house. Soon after, things finally calmed down. Jurro and his grandfather ended up fixing the broken doors, but then his grandfather remembered that he had a community meeting to attend, and since he would be coming home late, he told Jurro to lock everything up before going to sleep. Jurro quietly complained under his breath, but he still agreed. However, shortly after his grandfather left, the same crow from earlier suddenly appeared and called out to Jurro, asking for help. Apparently, there was a cat badly hurt somewhere in the woods. Jurro had no idea what was really going on, but he followed the crow anyway. When they reached the spot, he found a cat lying beneath a tree with severe injuries. Neither Jurro nor the crow had ever seen that cat in the area before, and they could not figure out what had happened to it. But since the cat was still breathing, Jurro decided he was going to do whatever he could to save it. What Jurro did not know was that this injured cat was not an ordinary animal at all. Before ending up in that condition, he was known as Rago, the Devourer of the Sun. He had been summoned by a mysterious group that wanted to control his power for their own purposes. But when Rago refused to obey them, the very people who summoned him tried to kill him instead. When Rago finally opened his eyes again, he found himself lying in a soft, warm cat bed inside Jurro's house. A moment later, Jurro came into the room to check on him. He was relieved to see that the cat had finally woken up, because with injuries that severe, Jurro honestly had not been sure whether it would survive. Since he figured the cat was probably thirsty, he placed a bowl of water nearby. Then he introduced himself and casually asked the cat to do the same. Rago immediately thought Jurro had to be a complete idiot. Even if he gave his name, there was no way an ordinary human could understand a cat's words. But Jurro instantly responded, telling him it was rude to call someone an idiot for no reason. The moment Rago realized that Jurro could actually understand him, he panicked and shot under the bed, refusing to come out. To him, a human understanding animal speech made absolutely no sense. Jurro understood why Rago was startled, especially if he had never spoken to a human before, so he calmly told him that he was safe here and that nobody was going to hurt him. But Rago did not trust the situation that easily. He could not sense any spiritual energy coming from Jurro, which meant Jurro really did seem to be human. Still, Rago decided it was safer to stay hidden until he found a chance to escape. That plan lasted only a few seconds, because Jurro soon returned with food. The second Rago smelled it, all of his caution disappeared. He was starving, and his pride clearly was not stronger than his hunger. Jurro found it funny how quickly Rago gave in, but Rago did not look embarrassed at all. He simply said that no hungry man would ever turn down a meal. Jurro laughed at the idea of a cat calling itself a man, but Rago immediately snapped back and insisted that he was not a cat. He then properly introduced himself as an immortal being, or as they were more commonly known in this world, a mononoke. Rago explained that mononoke often take the form of humans or animals and live among normal people without being discovered. Jurro did not fully understand everything he was saying, but one question immediately came to mind. If Mononoke were supposed to be such powerful beings, then how did Rago end up beaten and injured like this? Rago answered that another Mononoke had been responsible. When Jurro asked why they attacked him, Rago admitted that his memories were still unclear. He could not remember every detail, but he knew that another Mononoke had come to him wanting his help with something. And when Rago refused, they turned on him. Jurro started piecing the situation together. From what Rago was saying, it sounded like those guys asked for his cooperation, and the moment he rejected them, they jumped him. Still, Jurro did not understand why Rago refused in the first place. Since they were Mononoke too, he assumed Rago would want to help someone from his own kind, but Rago made it clear that he hated people like that. To him, they were nothing but parasites, the type who acted strong while depending entirely on someone else's power. Rago then said there was probably no point explaining any of this to Jurro anyway, since a normal human would never believe a story about immortals and monsters. But Jurro reminded him that he was talking to someone who had been able to speak with animals his entire life. Compared to that, the idea of immortal monsters living in secret was not really the craziest thing he had ever heard. At the same time, deep in the forest, a female agent arrived at the place where Jurro had originally discovered Rago. After examining the area, she contacted headquarters and reported that she had found a pool of blood. The blood had already been confirmed as Rago's, but there was one strange detail. She could not sense his spiritual presence anywhere nearby, and because of that, she believed he must have survived and gone into hiding somewhere in the area. Her superior ordered her to wait until the rest of the search team arrived before doing anything else, so she agreed to fall back for now and disappeared into the thin air. But she was not the only one searching the forest for signs of Rago. Back at Jurro's house, things were far calmer. Jurro was giving Rago a bath, partly to clean him up, and partly to help himself relax. He was honestly surprised by how fast Rago's wounds had healed, because the injured cat from earlier already looked almost completely fine. As he washed him, Jurro started remembering his old dog Naki. She had been huge, fluffy, and always knew exactly how to comfort him. Whenever Jurro came home after being bullied or hurt, Naki would ask him to give her a bath, because she somehow knew that doing something simple like that helped him calm down. At night, Jurro went to sleep. At least, that was what Rago believed. The moment he thought Jurro was fully asleep, he climbed onto the windowsill and prepared to leave. Rago did not want to disappear without saying anything, especially after Jurro had saved his life, but he understood that staying in that house would only drag Jurro into danger, so he jumped out the window. And when he landed, his body wavered slightly. His injuries may have closed, but his strength still had not fully returned. Even so, he tried to leave the property. Before he could get far, Jurro suddenly appeared behind him and asked where he thought he was going in the middle of the night. Rago froze in shock, because he was certain he had just seen Jurro sleeping upstairs. But Jurro had already guessed that Rago might try to sneak away, so he had placed a dummy illusion in his bed to fool him. Rago was annoyed by the cheek trick, but he still told Jurro to stop involving himself in his problems. As far as Rago was concerned, Jurro had already done more than enough. But Jurro refused to let him walk away like that. He reminded Rago that he was the one who saved him, and that meant Rago was his responsibility until he recovered properly. Rago snapped back that he never asked to be saved in the first place. In fact, if Jurro had not interfered, Rago would have been perfectly fine with dying out there. Jurro kept trying to argue with him, but Rago finally ran out of patience. He reminded Jurro that, no matter how harmless he looked right now, he was still a Mononoke, a monster known for eating humans. Because of that, the smartest thing Jurro could do was return to bed, forget this ever happened, and pretend they had never met. But before Jurro could respond, a strange man suddenly stepped into the house and interrupted them. Jurro had no idea who this stranger was, so he immediately told him to leave, since nobody had invited him there. But the man looked down on him and called him an ignorant human. Then his arm began to twist and transform into something monstrous before he launched himself straight at Jurro. The attack came so suddenly that Jurro did not have enough time to react, but Rago refused to watch him get killed. Even in his weakened state, he leaped forward, shoved Jurro out of the way, and lured the attacker into the forest. Rago tried to escape through the trees, but his body still had not recovered its original strength. Because of that, the demon caught up to him almost immediately and slammed him into the ground. Standing over him, the demon told Rago that he still had a chance to change his mind and cooperate. After all, their side had gone through a lot of trouble to break the seal that had kept Rago imprisoned, and killing him after all that effort would be a waste. But Rago only mocked him. If they wanted his power that badly, then they would have to risk their lives and take it by force. The demon charged at him again, ready to crush him completely. But before the attack could land, Jurro suddenly appeared with his family katana and sliced across the demon's arm. Rago was stunned that Jurro had actually returned. He called him an idiot for throwing away the chance he had given him to run, but Jurro refused to leave him behind. He said he could not just abandon Rago in the forest and let that monster kill him. And even if he had run away, the demon probably would have come after him next anyway, so fighting back was the only choice that made sense. The demon then revealed its full monstrous form and prepared to tear Jurro apart. However, it was surprised to see that Jurro did not flinch at all, even after seeing its true appearance. Then it noticed the markings on Jurro's katana and remembered the stealth technique he had just used. From that, the demon realized that Jurro was likely connected to the shinobi. Without wasting any more time, the demon rushed in and threw a heavy punch. For a second, it seemed like the attack had landed, but when the demon looked at its fist, it found only a piece of cloth. Jurro had already slipped away and was coming down from above for a counterattack. The move was clever, but Jurro had badly misjudged the monster's speed. Before he could strike, the demon vanished behind him in an instant and drove its fingers straight through Jurro's back. Even after taking such a serious wound, Jurro still tried to swing his katana for one final attack, but the demon leaped back and avoided it easily. It was impressive that Jurro could even think about attacking while injured that badly, but in the end, it made no difference. A wound like that was far too severe for any normal human to survive. Rago slowly approached Jurro and stared down at his dying body, overwhelmed with guilt. He knew that none of this would have happened if Jurro had never gotten involved with him. But when the demon noticed the way Rago was looking at Jurro, he misunderstood the situation completely. He assumed Rago was thinking about eating him, since consuming a human would help him recover his original strength. Because of that, the demon offered to let Rago have Jurro's body, hoping that regaining his power would convince him to finally cooperate with their side. But Rago had no intention of doing something like that. It was true that eating Jurro would restore his strength, but Jurro had saved his life, protected him, and even risked everything for him. Rago owed him far too much to let him die here. So instead of devouring Jurro, Rago chose the opposite. He decided to let Jurro take in his power. Rago transformed into his true form and flew straight into Jurro's body, releasing a massive surge of dark energy. As Rago's power began flooding out, the demon was left in disbelief. He could not believe that Rago would go so far as to turn against his own kind and hand his strength over to a human. A moment later, Jurro regained consciousness as Rago's power healed the wound in his back. He had no idea what had just happened, and the black smoke pouring from his body only made him even more confused. Then Rago's voice echoed inside his head, telling him to stop panicking and focus, because the fight was not over yet. The demon attacked again, but this time, Jurro's body moved completely differently. With Rago's power inside him, he was fast enough to avoid the demon's strikes and dodge before he could be stabbed again. Still, Jurro had no clue how he was supposed to defeat a monster like this. That was when Rago told him not to overthink it. All Jurro needed to do was make a fist, and Rago would take care of the rest. Jurro did not fully understand what that meant, but he trusted him and threw a punch anyway. The moment his fist moved forward, Rago released his energy through the attack, blasting straight through the demon's torso and killing him with a single strike. Jurro could only stand there in shock, struggling to process everything that had just happened. But before he had any time to calm down, agents from the Espionage Bureau suddenly surrounded him. They had arrived after detecting the powerful spiritual disturbance in the area, and without giving Jurro a chance to explain, they knocked him unconscious and took him back to find out what really happened. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the recap and are excited for the next episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our daily recaps.